And I thought it was important that she highlights the element of collaboration that might be, I suspect, one of the things coming up from today. So she said, working on the latter stages of the project, it felt there was a commitment carrying out the project which empowered all partners, big or small, to get the collections online. By working together at UMIS, it allowed smaller partners to achieve something which might not have been possible with the normal resources they had, financial and technical. In terms of lessons learned from this project, many partners had a steep hill to climb with mastering the technical delivery of the project. A project such as this one really tested the relationship the partners had with their university IT departments. Another lesson learned is that UMIS is a strong and valuable network. The partners have enough common interest, which allows them to deliver large projects such as this one. So, a little bit more interactive now. Mungo Campbell is the Deputy Director of the Hunterian. He really wanted to be here today, but he was giving a talk in Edinburgh, so we thought we'll use the digital technology live just for some of his comments on this. Wonderful.
Well, I think it's very nice that you were able to say a few words about this project, as you're not going to be able to be live there every day. I wanted if you could explain a little bit about the project and what you thought the lessons learned were from the UMIS Hidden Collections project.
The whole project emerged from a recognition, as the title of the project suggests, that the university collections across all of the various institutions in Scotland, from the largest, which is the Hunterian, to some of the very smallest, were underutilised and inaccessible in every shape and form. And not long after that, the challenge was recognised that the first step of this was actually their digital availability, their online availability. And the thought was, through SFC funding, that a concerted campaign could be put together actually to overcome this. The challenge was that the various institutions self-evidently had their collections documentation at a whole host of different levels, and according to the scale of the institution, presenting something at the end of the project in a very compact time period was going to be quite a challenge, because some places with quite small collections could provide some very detailed information quite easily, others wouldn't be able to do that. Overall, however, it's important to remember that it was at a collections level description that the initial project was really aiming to achieve something, because it was recognised that, particularly with some of the large collections, Aberdeen and Glasgow in particular, that anything else would be almost unmanageable.
Looking back now, were there any things that you think if you were to do this again, you would go about differently perhaps today?
Well, as you know, the really curious thing about the whole project overall is that the final outcome and the outputs were very different from where we started. You can argue that we might have set about a number of things differently, but the question would then have arisen, would we have got to the point that we did arrive at the end in terms of the online availability of these collections? It had to be tailored across a whole range, as I say, of scales, not only of collection, but of institutions, a whole range of scale of institutional collections management or collections documentation systems. So it had to be a project that could adapt to any number of these individual situations. And in a sense, one of the critical things about it was that it was a model of institutions in Scotland working very collaboratively to produce something that was far greater than the sum of its parts. So to go back to your question, would we have done anything differently? I suppose we might have done various things differently, but as I say, the outcome was so different because, frankly, technology had moved on so rapidly during the genesis of this project that the initial notion of getting some collection level descriptions, uploading them onto a portal and having it sit there whilst people came and interrogated it we went past that really quite early in the project, and it was really then a matter of what could be delivered that would be much better than we had anticipated.
They were all university museums, but as you said, very different sizes. Would you say the users, the people that were aiming at, were more or less the same, or was there also quite a lot of diversity there?
One of the interesting questions was exactly who were going to be the end users. And again, the shift in emphasis in the project was dramatic because of the change of the nature of the delivery and what the portal and what the other harvesting mechanisms would be. Because at the beginning, you could really imagine that a UMIS URL with a portal on it would only be accessed by people who were looking quite hard, all right, for university museum collections in Scotland, but you would have to drive traffic towards that one way or another. So it would be academic researchers, it would be PGT, PGR classes of user, and obviously undergraduates and perhaps a few schools programs, that sort of thing. But people who, in a sense, were being driven towards that one portal, which was going to be fairly static, capable of being uploaded, but again with real sustainability problems. As it emerged quite rapidly that if we got it right, the data that we were preparing and developing would be harvestable. Instantaneously, you've completely changed the nature of the people that you are going to be expecting to use the information that you've created.
Would you say that the lessons from that project, Handian was able to apply to another type of collaboration, the one with the Kelvin Hall now, and what we're trying to do with the portal there?
That, I think, is a slightly more difficult question to answer. I think what we did learn is that different users with different sets of data can work very effectively together. If I'm being really honest about it, I suppose my question as a non-specialist in this field is what are portals for at this point? And I'm sorry to be asking that, but I do have to ask it, because I am not sure what a portal is for, because instantly you are creating a situation where people have to approach the portal before they start seeking the information, the data about the objects themselves. And to my mind, it's far more likely that they're going to be coming from the angle of seeking information about the objects, and the portal is just a means to an end. And so we may have to edit this one, by the way, because
to finish with the question.
I think
the second part of the workshop will be the questions. And what are the kind of questions we should be asking before embarking on something?
Yeah. I think it is a real challenge in my mind as to that. So I have to admit I am not sure what the UMIS portal traffic now looks like, but I would be very surprised if people are approaching collections in Scotland through that portal first and foremost. My suspicion is that the objectives of the project were far more than exceeded by what we achieved. At the end it took longer, far more effectively delivered than we might have imagined. But ironically, the portal itself was left in something of a cul-de-sac whilst we were achieving that.
So it's interesting, even though technology might not work anymore because it was superseded, the fact that people got together and worked on common goals was actually probably more important than the book.
There was that, and there was also the need to question internally within each organisation what systems you were using, what approaches you were taking to your data, and how you were going to manage that. And that was very important, as particularly In fact, for a large organisation like this, and a large collection like this, we had to think very carefully about how we were going to create some of those collections level descriptions, and how they were going to overcome some of the documentation challenges that we were facing because of the scale, and that we had to deliver those within a compact time period in order for the project to work. And you need concerted campaigns in order really to meet those challenges. And again, I think if in a sense the Kelvin Wall portal has a potential for really delivering good and delivering change, it is precisely because these conversations are now taking place and we need to challenge the thinking. But if you think back as to the point at which that portal was originally, the Kelvin Hall portal was conceived as an idea, it too goes back into the mists of a time period which we have now really rather left behind.
Great, thank you very much. I think this part gave us a lot of food for thought for the remaining questions and discussions today. Thank you very much.